Hello again, welcome to Bridlington. It's now Saturday the 24th of February 2024. The time is 10:25 AM and it's about 5 degrees centigrade. This is Bridlington Harbour Commission's repair yard. That's the Isabella M. A very interesting hull design, sort of with these highly efficient narrow hulls. I remember reading something about hull design a long time ago, and a more traditional construction here of the kestrel in for some sort of work. There is the harvester from Filey. This one has a wooden construction. You can see the planks there. And this is Clough Hole. Can you hear the roaring sound there? That's because through that shaft over there you can just see some ventilation holes in the centre there. Underneath where I'm standing now, the Gypsy Race River is an absolute torrent, and it passes in a sort of a pipe or a tunnel underneath where we are now. All of this used to be Clough Hole. Clough Hole was sort of a riverbank on either side with an open river going through. A beautiful day with the sun out at Bridlington. The car park is absolutely full. We just managed to get the last place. I'm not sure why that is at this time of day. It is Saturday. I don't know whether there's a special event on here or whether it's just because it's one of the first days this year where you've had the first days where it's been sunny, no wind, no rain. It's amusing really how many days you have to go sometimes at Bridlington on the east coast to find a day like this. And here again we'll come to the Gypsy Race River, which is absolutely a torrent at the moment coming through here. Usually it's just a small trickle, but it actually looks like a river at this point. And I've never really seen it like this before. You can see here where the dredge of the Gypsy Race has been sort of digging away the mud. I always assumed the whole harbour was sort of metres deep in mud, but just look at that area there. You know, the speed and volume of water coming through the Gypsy Race River at the moment. That's surely there got to be some sort of rock underneath the surface, you know, the bed of the harbour. Don't you think? Surely if that was mud there, it would all be sort of washed away. So maybe the centre of the harbour there, some sort of a channel that when the Gypsy Race is, you know, full on like now in winter, the mud sort of gets washed away under the bed of the Gypsy Race River. It's been an incredibly wet winter here in the UK, especially here in Yorkshire. That was pressure washing that seahorse thing down there. As you said, it looks like it hasn't moved for 10 years with loads of mussels stuck underneath it. I can see the masts of the pirate boat there, ready for action again. Let's walk down some more highly dangerous steps. It's the old female sea latrine. Very interesting, the gates open there. It could be tempting to walk in there and have a look, but I can see a bit of a sheer drop actually inside there, so let's not bother. Walking down now onto the bed of Bridlington Harbour, and using the 0.5 lens on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Here we can see the other side of the old tyres and construction of Bridlington Crane Wharf that I've highlighted in one or two other videos. Here we have the old structure that was once used for fishing cobbles and sort of sailing cobbles a long time ago, decades ago, and is now is falling into disrepair. And here we have an interesting feature of Bridlington Harbour, I suspect lost, or almost on the point of being lost to history. Let's have another look at this, and you'll see this featuring in one of my other videos, and it's now filled with shingle. But actually in there, it's like passageways that go both ways, and I suspect this was the sewer system of Bridlington Harbour in days gone by, or drain water system. Look at this here, the metal brackets. Quite substantial brackets there. Now, thinking back a long time ago, probably 30, 40, 50 years ago, that used to have a metal plate that sort of came down here, and it would be sort of sealed off in some sort of way. I'm not sure why that was, whether you can imagine, again, entering the sort of world of surrealism and science fiction, you can imagine sort of that being fastened down, back pressure building up in the sewer system right out to the villages on on the walls there, tremendous back pressure in the toilet system, and then someone striking from the top there, tides going out, strike down with a metal pole, release it, and a tremendous flood of sewage going straight out into the harbour in a sort of projectile form. Of course, that's just my twisted sense of humour. You've got to have a laugh though, haven't you, don't you think? Beautiful Bridlington anyway. And someone commented, I think on my last video, Bridlington hasn't recovered, which is a fair comment. I mean, especially if you live here. But coming as an outsider from the West Yorkshire, it's always beautiful to come here, of course, because it's novel. It's also brings back childhood memories of coming here. I mean, I can remember out here there would be loads of pleasure boats out here, not just the Yorkshire Belle, but the Flamborian, the wooden Bridlington Queen, I'm trying to think, the Yorkshireman would be in the middle. Probably about 5 at least of these things. I can remember them going out almost like a fleet towards Flamborough Head, following each other. Let's head back upstairs. Before doing that, let's just have a look at some of the rocks here. I mean, I think the power of water shows you what's happening here. Oh look, here's a dead crab. And this will be part of the chalk cliffs at Flamborough Head, where gradually washed down there along the coast, then into Bridlington Harbour. The sheer drop in there, I'm not sure what's happening there. One time that would be the sea latrine, back in the day. Now back on the top of the harbour. If you were around in the 1950s and 60s, can't you just sort of sense the ghost ships, the ghosts of the ships that were there? I think the boy zones now are houseboats and were on the Seine in Paris. I'm not sure what happened to the other ones. The Bridlington Queen was made out of wood. I don't know how many of them have actually survived and been turned into something else. Interesting to consider though what it was like back in the day. Was it safer then than it is now? I mean, you had 2 RAF launches in the harbour. Now there are no RAF launches, just the pirate ship back there. You're probably wondering what the water temperature is out here. The water temperature here in the North Sea is 4C. Now I think it was -2C in the Atlantic when the Titanic went down, and that had lifeboats, not enough lifeboats. It had lifebelts. Well, people died not from hypothermia, most people, but from being paralysed by the cold water of the sea. There's not a lot of difference, to be honest. Not a lot of difference. Those old ships back in the day, the old metal cruise ships. I always wondered whether there was sort of safety in numbers in those days. You got 4 or 5 of them, they're sort of going out in a semi-official fleet, going out round the head there and along the coastline, where there are 400 foot tall cliffs, where it's totally impossible to get back up anyway. And this bay used to be studded with small boats. I'm talking about now, probably the late 1960s, early 1970s. Let's settle on 1970. They'd be full of boats and yachts and lots of little boats like mine, which was probably a 2.5 metre long inflatable with a rigid bottom and a 3 horsepower British Seagull outboard, as I mentioned before. And we're on an anchor chain, about a 90-foot anchor chain there, nylon rope anchored up there fishing. There are loads of boats like that. I think it made it safer. I mean, I'm sure that the sort of rescue facilities at the moment, you know, you've got the lifeboat. I think you've got a big helicopter now that could rescue people. Anyway, put that on one side. Here we've got Bridlington North Beach. I've always been fascinated by the sea, by ships, by adventure stories, sailing around the world and so on. The furthest I got was just off Lamborough Head. I sometimes find it difficult to tell whether the tide's actually going in or out here. I think it's going out. But just in case, I'm pretty sure it's going out, but we'll not take a chance on it. You could walk over there and just walk along the sands, and there are steps up You've got to be very careful with it, especially with Flamborough Head, don't you think? A colleague of mine got trapped by the tide at Flamborough Head and had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. Very embarrassing. It was greatly relieved to find out it never got into the press, given the job we were doing at the time. Can you see how it's possible to get trapped here if the tide's coming in? You can already see some rocks that are just about breaking the surface, but it's quite shallow just there now. A sandbar will appear there, but the water around here is deeper. And from over there, you can't see these steps. You can't see where the steps start, especially if it's getting dark. Pause just to look at the sky reflecting in the sea there. I think the normal colour of the sea is a sort of a sandy dark grey colour, but here you've got the blue sky being reflected in the water. Beautiful blue colour. It's beautiful actually, don't you think? I think there's a cormorant. I think Bridlington Harbour's got a resident cormorant, and that it was a young one last year. I'll just zoom in and see if we can see it resurface. Maybe you saw that. And there's another one just there at the mouth of the harbour. A lobster fishing fleet tied up there. It's been a Saturday. Great wind turbines on the Yorkshire coast there, standing idle, but it feels as though a breeze is springing up, so they may start turning soon. Flatfish, the same as I used to catch. The thing is, a couple of seasons of coming to Bridlington with that boat, I never managed to catch a round fish like a mackerel. I was talking to someone about that on that last trip. He just there, what may or may not have been the days gone by toilet sewage outlet to the harbour. Where we've just been looking now. Why is that relevant, and why am I talking about that in relation to catching a mackerel perhaps? Anyway, I was talking to this resident of Bridlington on the last trip here, and he said the only place he's ever caught a mackerel was near the sewer outlet. I never thought about that, but he said that the buoy out there on the sea, the sewer outlet for the town, and the mackerel clustered around that. Mackerel, of course, being a sort of round fish. Talking about round-bodied fish, I've got friends in faraway places, well outside the mackerel habitat. Right, clarifications. I've just been educated by one of those gents at the end who was moved to Bridlington, and yes indeed, that boy right out there you can barely see 1 mile out. The mackerel do gather around there if you're fishing, and you can imagine what they eat. There's krill around there as well. It's like an ecosystem, but apparently, according to him, there is no sewage treatment at Bridlington. It's all pumped straight out to sea, out there on the 1 mile pipe, or out here. And he said you can see a sewage pipe here. There, I think at times he's had to wade through it while fishing. That outlet in the harbour there, indeed, might have been the old town's sewage, just discharging straight into the harbour. And apparently, this situation with the sewage here at Bridlington is the same all up and down the coast. You just have a long pipe and pipe it straight out to sea. That's at best. Worst, it all floods over, and possibly torrents down the Gypsy Race River there into the harbour. I guess that's the consequences of having such a high population of people around these days. Here it seems, looking down there, it seems that's a wash down there. It seems as though the tide is actually coming in and not going out. Difficult to tell on the North Beach, because this beach here, the sand is quite coarse grained. You go further up there, you can just see the white beach there, it's shingle. And if you go further around onto Flamper Head, it's rock. And the South Beach at the other side of town is much finer sand. If you look down at the water's edge there, because it's coarse sand, the water, the seawater, just sinks rapidly through the sand. Certainly for someone like me from inland, I find it difficult on this beach to tell whether the tide's going in or out. So, as we sprint again up these Art Nouveau steps, it's goodbye from Bridlington. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye for now.